How to discipline yourself without resorting to violence against yourself. Self-discipline is the cornerstone of personal growth, enabling individuals to achieve their goals, maintain focus, and build resilience. However, many people mistakenly associate discipline with harsh self-criticism or punitive measures, which can lead to emotional and psychological harm. Developing self-discipline without resorting to violence, whether physical, emotional, or mental, requires cultivating a mindset rooted in compassion, structure, and positive reinforcement. This essay explores practical strategies for fostering self-discipline through kindness and constructive habits, ensuring sustainable progress without self-inflicted harm. Understanding self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to control impulses, stay committed to goals, and act in alignment with long-term values, even when immediate gratification is tempting. Unlike external discipline, which may rely on authority or punishment, self-discipline is an internal process that thrives on intrinsic motivation. The challenge lies in maintaining consistency without falling into the trap of self-punishment, such as negative self-talk, excessive guilt, or denying oneself basic needs. Nonviolent self-discipline prioritizes self-respect and mental well-being, fostering a healthy relationship with oneself. 1. Set clear and realistic goals. The foundation of self-discipline is clarity. Without a clear sense of purpose, it's easy to lose motivation or become overly critical when progress stalls. Start by setting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, SMART goals. For example, instead of aiming to get fit, set a goal to exercise for 30 minutes, 3 times a week for the next month. Realistic goals prevent overwhelm and reduce the temptation to berate oneself for falling short. Breaking larger goals into smaller, manageable tasks also helps maintain momentum. Each small victory builds confidence, reinforcing discipline through positive feedback rather than self-criticism. For instance, completing a single chapter of a book feels more achievable than aiming to read an entire book in one sitting. Celebrate these milestones without judgment, acknowledging progress as a step toward growth. 2. Practice self-compassion. Self-compassion is a powerful antidote to self-violence. Instead of punishing yourself for mistakes or lapses in discipline, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion, emphasizes 3 components: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. When you fail to meet a goal, acknowledge the setback mindfully without exaggeration, recognize that everyone struggles, and respond with encouragement rather than criticism. For example, if you miss a workout, instead of thinking, "I'm so lazy," reframe it as, "I missed today, but I can try again tomorrow." This approach prevents the cycle of guilt and shame that often derails discipline. By treating setbacks as learning opportunities, you create a supportive internal environment that fosters resilience and sustained effort. 3. Build consistent habits through routines. Habits are the building blocks of self-discipline. By establishing routines, you reduce reliance on willpower, which can fluctuate. Start small. Choose 1 or 2 habits to focus on, such as drinking a glass of water each morning or spending 10 minutes journaling. Consistency is key. Research by Dr. B.J. Fogg, a behavior scientist, suggests that small, repeatable actions paired with positive reinforcement create lasting habits. To avoid self-violence, don't overload yourself with too many changes at once. For instance, trying to overhaul your diet, exercise, and sleep schedule simultaneously can lead to frustration and self-blame. Instead, focus on incremental progress. Use tools like habit trackers or calendars to visualize consistency, which provides a sense of accomplishment without the need for harsh self-judgment. 4. Use positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement strengthens self-discipline by rewarding desired behaviors. Instead of punishing yourself for failures, reward yourself for successes, no matter how small. Rewards can be simple, such as enjoying a favorite activity, treating yourself to a healthy snack, or taking a moment to acknowledge your effort. For example, after completing a work task, take a short walk to refresh your mind. This approach contrasts with self-violence, which might involve denying yourself rest or leisure as punishment for not meeting expectations. Positive reinforcement builds a cycle of motivation, making discipline feel rewarding rather than punitive. Over time, This creates a positive association with disciplined behaviors, making them more sustainable. 5. Cultivate a growth mindset. A growth mindset, as described by psychologist Carol Dweck, is the belief that abilities and discipline can be developed through effort and learning. This mindset encourages perseverance and reduces the tendency to view setbacks as personal failures. Instead of thinking, "I'll never be disciplined," reframe challenges as opportunities to grow. For example, if you struggle to wake up early, experiment with strategies like setting a gentle alarm or adjusting your bedtime, rather than labeling yourself as undisciplined. A growth mindset also helps you avoid self-violence by focusing on progress over perfection. By viewing discipline as a skill to be honed, you shift the focus from self-criticism to curiosity and problem-solving. This perspective fosters resilience and keeps you motivated without resorting to harsh measures. 6. Create a supportive environment. Your environment plays a significant role in self-discipline. Surround yourself with tools and people that support your goals. For instance, if you're trying to eat healthier, keep nutritious foods accessible and remove temptations. If you're working on productivity, create a distraction-free workspace. A supportive environment reduces the need for excessive willpower, making discipline easier to maintain. Additionally, seek accountability from supportive friends, family, or mentors. Share your goals with someone who encourages you without judgment. This external support can replace the need for internal harshness, as you'll feel motivated by connection rather than fear of failure. 7. Practice mindfulness and reflection. Mindfulness helps you stay present and aware of your actions, reducing impulsive behaviors that undermine discipline. Regular reflection, such as journaling or meditation, allows you to assess your progress without judgment. For example, at the end of each day, reflect on what went well and what could be improved, focusing on solutions rather than self-blame. Mindfulness also helps you recognize when self-violence creeps in, such as negative self-talk or unrealistic expectations. By catching these patterns early, you can redirect your thoughts toward constructive solutions. For instance, if you notice yourself thinking, "I'm such a failure," pause and ask, "What can I do differently next time?" This shift promotes discipline through awareness rather than punishment. Conclusion: disciplining yourself without resorting to violence requires a shift from punishment to empowerment. By setting clear goals, practicing self-compassion, building habits, using positive reinforcement, cultivating a growth mindset, creating a supportive environment, and practicing mindfulness, you can develop self-discipline that is sustainable and kind. These strategies foster a healthy relationship with yourself, where discipline becomes a tool for growth rather than a source of harm. Ultimately, self-discipline rooted in compassion not only helps you achieve your goals, but also enhances your overall well-being, proving that true strength lies in kindness to oneself. In a world that often glorifies self-flagellation and harsh discipline, the notion of achieving self-control without resorting to self-violence can seem counterintuitive. We are taught to toughen up, to be our own worst critic, and to beat ourselves into submission. Yet, this punitive approach, whether physical or psychological, is often counterproductive and harmful. True discipline, the kind that fosters lasting change and personal growth, is not an act of war against oneself, but a process of self-compassion, understanding, and strategic habit formation. It is about building a supportive framework, not a prison. The first step in this nonviolent approach to self-discipline is to reframe our understanding of discipline itself. Instead of seeing it as punishment for our failures, we should view it as a tool for our success. Discipline is not about what we are forced to do, but about what we choose to do to align our actions with our values and goals. When we miss a workout, the goal is not to punish ourselves with an extra grueling session, but to understand why we missed it and to create a more sustainable plan. Perhaps the workout time was unrealistic, or we were not motivated by the type of exercise. This introspection allows us to adapt and improve, not to condemn and stagnate. Secondly, self-discipline requires cultivating self-compassion. This is not to be confused with self-pity or an excuse for inaction. Self-compassion is the ability to acknowledge our shortcomings and mistakes with kindness and understanding, rather than harsh judgment. When we stumble, a compassionate approach asks, "What can I learn from this?" rather than "What is wrong with me?" This mindset reduces the shame and fear that often lead to a vicious cycle of self-criticism and avoidance. By treating ourselves with the same grace and understanding we would offer a dear friend, we create a safe space for growth. This emotional safety net allows us to take risks, knowing that failure is not a catastrophe, but a data point. Furthermore, a nonviolent approach to discipline focuses on building systems and habits, not on relying on sheer willpower. Willpower is a finite resource that can be exhausted by stress, decision fatigue, and emotional strain. Instead of hoping we will feel like it, we should engineer our environment to make the desired behavior the easiest option. If we want to read more, we should place a book on our nightstand instead of our phone. If we want to eat healthier, we should pre-prepare our meals and fill our pantry with nutritious foods. These small, deliberate changes remove the friction from positive actions and build a momentum that is far more powerful than any burst of self-hatred. Finally, true discipline is a practice of self-regulation and emotional intelligence. It involves learning to sit with discomfort without lashing out at ourselves. When we feel the urge to procrastinate, overeat, or engage in a negative habit, the nonviolent approach is to observe that feeling, understand its source, and respond with intention rather than reaction. This is the essence of mindfulness, observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment, which allows us to create a space between impulse and action. By learning to self-soothe and manage our internal states, we eliminate the need for punitive measures. In conclusion, self-discipline without self-violence is not a weakness, but a profound act of self-love and wisdom. It moves beyond a primitive model of control based on fear and punishment and embraces a sophisticated model based on understanding, compassion, and strategic action. By reframing our perspective, practicing self-compassion, building supportive systems, and cultivating emotional intelligence, we can achieve our goals not by beating ourselves down, but by building ourselves up. This is the path to lasting change and genuine well-being, a discipline that is not about breaking our spirit, but about strengthening it. How to discipline yourself without resorting to violence against yourself. Self-discipline is not about punishment. It's about building reliable habits, aligning your environment and motivation, and treating yourself with enough respect that you'll show up again tomorrow. When people talk about being tough, they sometimes slide into harsh self-criticism or even self-harm. That's neither necessary nor effective. Below is a practical, humane roadmap to becoming disciplined, one that increases your capacity to act, not your capacity to hurt yourself. 1. Change the story you tell yourself. Discipline starts in language. If your inner voice is punitive, "I'm lazy, I should force myself," you'll create anxiety and avoidance. Replace that story with something empowering and truthful. Shift from, "I must punish myself to get results," to, "I set up systems so good that I don't have to rely on willpower." Use curiosity. "What happened this morning that made me skip my run?" rather than, "I'm worthless." Curiosity opens problem solving. Shame shuts it down. 2. Design your environment to make the right choice easy. Willpower is limited. Environment is unlimited. The fewer decisions you need to fight through, the more consistent you'll be. Remove friction for good behaviors. Keep workout clothes visible. Prepare a healthy breakfast the night before. Add friction for bad ones. Put your phone in another room when focused work matters. Use visual cues in dedicated spaces. A desk that's only for work, a notebook that's only for planning. 3. Use tiny, atomic habits. Start so small you can't fail. Small wins build momentum and identity. If you want to read more, start with 1 page a day. If you want to exercise, start with 5 minutes. Stack the tiny habit onto an existing routine. After I make coffee, I'll write 1 sentence. 4. Replace punishment with reinforcement. Positive reinforcement works better and is kinder. Reward yourself immediately for completing a step, 5 minutes of something you enjoy. Use a habit tracker or calendar and enjoy the visual streak. Celebrate progress, not perfection. 5. Make clear, concrete commitments. Vague goals are easy to ignore. Use specifics. Instead of "study more," say "study 45 minutes at 6:30 to 7:15 p.m. on weekdays." Make public commitments or use accountability partners to increase follow-through. 6. Build routines and rituals. Routines conserve energy and reduce decision fatigue. Morning and evening rituals anchor your day, e.g., hydrate, stretch, prioritize 3 tasks. Rituals signal to your brain that it's time for a certain mode of behavior, making transition easier. 7. Use implementation intentions and time boxing. Plan the when, where, and how of actions. If X happens, then I will do Y. If I check social media, I will set a 5-minute timer and then close the app. Time box tasks. Work for a fixed period, Pomodoro, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, to make productivity predictable. 8. Be strategic with motivation. Motivation waxes and wanes. Don't depend on it. Link tasks to meaningful goals. Ask, why does this matter to me in 6 months? Use immediate rewards or make the task enjoyable, temptation bundling. Only listen to a podcast while running. 9. Practice emotional regulation instead of self-punishment. Failure or procrastination often triggers unpleasant feelings. Learn to tolerate those feelings without violent or harsh self-reaction. Use mindful breathing or a 60-second grounding practice to settle intense emotion. Label the feeling, I'm feeling frustrated. Naming dilutes reactivity. Ask what useful next step you can take, even if imperfect. 10. Track, measure, and adapt. Data removes drama. Track small metrics and iterate. Keep a simple log. What you did, for how long, and one quick note. What helped, what didn't. Review weekly and adjust the plan. Discipline is adaptive, not rigid. 11. Use compassionate accountability. Accountability works best when paired with kindness. Choose someone who will check in and respond constructively. Replace "you failed again" with "what could we change so this works next week?" 12. Rest, nutrition, movement, the non-negotiables. Discipline is cheaper when your body cooperates. Sleep enough, eat regularly, and move daily. You'll have more consistent focus and lower impulsivity. Treat these as part of your schedule, not as optional extras. 13. Handle setbacks with a repair mindset. Setbacks are data, not indictments of your character. When you slip, do a quick repair. Acknowledge it, note what triggered it, and plan a tiny next action. Avoid escalating into harsh self-harm or prolonged punishment. The fastest path back to discipline is kindness plus action. 14. Know when to get help. If you experience urges to harm yourself, chronic self-injury, or extreme self-punishment, reach out for professional support. Therapists and crisis resources exist to help without judgment. A simple daily discipline template, practical. Morning, 5-minute breathing. Plan top 3 priorities, prep water/snack. Work blocks, 2 90-minute focus sessions with 15-minute breaks, or Pomodoros. Micro habit, 1 5-minute start on a long-term goal. Evening, 10-minute review, what worked? Set 1 tiny goal for tomorrow. Sleep hygiene, wind down 30 to 60 minutes before bed. Conclusion, true discipline is about structure, not suffering. It's built from tiny, repeatable choices, from systems that make good behavior default, and from a mindset that treats mistakes as information, not ammunition. Replace violence and self-attack with design, curiosity, and compassion. That's how steady, lasting discipline is formed.